Most Americans know the big stories, the Pilgrims, the Revolution, the Founding Fathers, but almost no one knows that in the early 1500s, a single man walked across the entire future United States, alone, starving, enslaved, hunted, worshipped, feared, and survived. His name is Esteban, a North African whose footsteps carved paths long before maps existed. This is not mythology. This is not a folk tale. This is the real, forgotten America before America.
The man who should have been forgotten. He never remembered the moment he was taken, only the moment he understood he would never go home again. The ship that carried him across the Atlantic, a Portuguese carrack swollen with chained human bodies, smelled of sweat and salt and sickness. Rats moved freely between limbs. The Atlantic rolled endlessly, a gray beast beneath a gray sky, drowning out screams with waves. Esteban had been a free man, a merchant's son, trained in languages and trade. He had walked the markets of Azemmoir in Morocco with confidence. Now his ankles were iron, and his name belonged to another. Yet, even in chains, he observed everything: the ship, the guards, the currents. He studied the world because he believed one thing: if you understand the world loses its power over you. He learned to listen, not to the men who shouted, but to the ocean itself. It was a lesson he would use again and again. When the ship finally reached Hispaniola, the sun was painfully bright. He was sold, transferred, resold, and eventually brought into the service of a Spanish nobleman, Captain Andrés Dorantes. Dorantes was ambitious, but oddly kind. He renamed him Estebanico, a diminutive, a possession. But he allowed him to work, to learn, to carry weapons, and in time Estebanico became indispensable. He learned Spanish. He learned Catholic customs. He learned how these men saw the world, and how limited their vision really was. He didn't know it yet, but soon he would become the one leading them.
The Expedition of Lost Men. In 1527, a grand expedition set out to conquer Florida. 600 men, ships, horses, clergy, soldiers, and dreams of golden cities. Among them, Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca, a nobleman; Dorantes, Esteban's master; Narvaez, the commander, whose arrogance could kill an army; and Esteban himself, the only African on the mission. Florida was nothing like they imagined. No cities paved with gold, no easy victory, only dense forests, swamps filled with alligators, and indigenous nations who watched the newcomers with cold eyes. Then came storms, hunger, betrayal by their own commander, and disease that wiped out entire groups before they even saw battle. Within months, more than half the expedition was dead. Esteban learned quickly. European weapons meant nothing here. Belief in superiority meant nothing here. The land decided everything. By fall of 1528, the survivors found themselves stranded on a barren island off present-day Texas. The Island of Misfortune. The name was too kind.
The Island of Misery. The Gulf Coast winter was brutal. The men, starving, attempted to build crude boats. Many died rowing them. Many drowned. Some simply walked into the sea and did not return. Esteban, Dorantes, and Cabeza de Vaca survived by a thread.
At times they ate roots. At times they ate leather. At times they ate their own dead. The indigenous tribes watched them, at first with suspicion, then with curiosity, finally with pity. The survivors, too weak to resist, were taken as slaves.
Years in chains. For 4 years, Esteban lived as a slave among the coastal peoples. He carried water. He gathered firewood. He patched canoes. He learned their language. He learned their stories, their taboos, their beliefs about spirits and healing. He paid attention, always. Cabeza de Vaca and the others lived separately, suffering their own captivities. But Esteban slowly mastered what no European ever had, the ability to become invisible. Not vanish, but blend, absorb, adapt. He watched where Spaniards demanded control and failed. Indigenous nations shared control and survived. One day, a woman in the village fell terribly ill. The tribe believed evil spirits caused sickness. Cabeza de Vaca, also nearby, had been acting as a healer using simple rituals. The tribe asked Esteban for help. He placed a hand over the woman's forehead and whispered words not of magic, but of memory. Prayers from his mother, blessings from his childhood, fragments from the Quran, Spanish Christian rites, and indigenous rhythms he had learned. It didn't matter what the words were. What mattered was faith, his and theirs. The woman recovered. That moment changed everything.
The healers who walked. A rumor began spreading among the tribes. 4 foreign healers could cure illness, predict danger, and speak to the spirits. Cabeza de Vaca, Dorantes, Castillo, and Esteban. But between these 4, only one could truly move between worlds. Only one could speak every language. Only one was welcomed, fed, protected, and adored by tribe after tribe. Esteban. The 4 men, now free from bondage, began walking west, tribe to tribe, across what is now Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and northern Mexico. They survived not because of European steel, but because of Esteban's voice and presence. He became a symbol, not of conquest, but of connection. He learned the stories of every village. He remembered the names of every chief. He carried gifts, beads, shells, medicine, and knowledge. The people called him the black man who walks with the sun. Others called him the child of the dawn. Some called him he who speaks many tongues. Every tribe had a different name for him, but the meaning was the same. He was someone the world should not have produced, and yet here he was,
The continent unseen. While the Spanish thought the interior of North America was empty, Esteban learned the truth. It was full of nations, full of trade routes, full of cities older than Europe's oldest cathedrals, full of empires built on maize, turquoise, and obsidian. He walked through deserts where the sky burned red at dusk. He crossed snowy plains where the wind roared like an animal. He entered villages with stone towers, underground ceremonial rooms, and thousands of people. He saw buffalo herds that shook the ground like earthquakes. He saw ancient petroglyphs carved before Rome existed. He heard creation stories older than Christianity. And the tribes, upon seeing him, whispered, "This is the one foretold." Whether they believed he was a messenger, a healer, a spirit, or simply a man who survived things no man should, they all helped him. Some escorted the group for miles. Some gave them guides. Some gave them food and shelter. Esteban understood what the Spaniards never had. If you respect people, they will cross a continent for you. If you understand people, they will move mountains for you. If you honor people, the world opens instead of closes. The beginning of the end. Spanish officials listened to their story with wide eyes. But while they admired Cabeza de Vaca and tolerated the others, they feared Esteban. A man who could unite tribes? A man who could walk across unknown lands with no army? A man the indigenous people loved? He was a threat to the empire's entire worldview. Yet they needed him. Rumors spread of a vast city to the north, Cibola, the first of the 7 cities of gold. Spain wanted gold. They wanted roots. They wanted control. So they hired the one man who had already walked the land, Esteban. He would serve as guide to a priest named Fray Marcos. The Spanish believed Esteban could lead them to unimaginable riches. They had no idea that riches were not what he sought. Freedom was. In 1539, Esteban went north with thousands of indigenous allies who revered him. He moved ahead of Fray Marcos. He carried symbols of peace from tribe to tribe. He sent back runners with reports of what he saw. But soon the land changed. The villages grew more suspicious. Warriors watched from cliffs. Something was different. The Zuni, who lived in the great pueblos of the southwest, were not easily impressed by foreigners. They did not revere him. They did not fear him. They simply didn't know him. When Esteban approached the city of Hawiku, something went wrong. Accounts differ. Some say the Zuni misunderstood his arrival. Some say rival tribes had spread lies about him. Some say Spanish demands angered the people. Some say Esteban pushed too quickly, too confidently, expecting the same welcome he'd received elsewhere. Whatever happened, the result was the same. The Zuni killed him. The man who walked across North America fell in a place no European had ever seen. His death sent shock waves across the Spanish world. Some refused to believe it. Others said he escaped. Others claimed he became a spirit, wandering still. But history is clear on one thing. His footsteps shaped a continent.
The man who outlived history. Spain remembered the expedition. They remembered Cabeza de Vaca's writings. But they did not remember Esteban. Europe could not accept that the first man to truly explore the future United States, the first cultural bridge, the first diplomat, the first continental traveler, was not European, was not noble, was not white. He was an African, a slave, a survivor. So they erased him. But the land did not forget. The tribes did not forget. The oral histories did not forget. Generations later, indigenous storytellers still spoke of the Black Healer, the Dawn Walker, the man with many tongues, the one who came from the sea and walked into the sun. He is still out there, in the stories, in the deserts, in the ruins, in the memory of a continent that existed long before the United States. And that is the truth. America was not shaped only by the names in textbooks, but also by the footsteps in the sand, and some footsteps never blow away.